Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. You're looking at live pictures of the stage in Pensacola, Florida, where the president will hold a campaign-style rally in just a few minutes. We'll take you there as soon as he arrives at the venue, which is about 25 miles from the Alabama border. That, of course, is where Judge Roy Moore hopes to win a suddenly competitive race for the U.S. Senate. That's on Tuesday. First, though, we start tonight with two people who know what it's like to be on the campaign trail with the president. Former Trump campaign manager and chief strategist at America First Action, Corey Lewandowski, and Trump's former deputy campaign manager, David Bossie. Both are authors of the brand new book, Let Trump Be Trump. Welcome to you both. Dave Bossie, first to you. You traveled, of course, with the president before he does live events. What is his ritual before getting on stage?
Well, he just sticks to himself. He reviews his remarks and really is thinking about the important messages that he wants to deliver that particular day. I think tonight it's going to be talking about the verdict of Kate Steinle, the atrocious verdict in San Francisco last week. This is the first time he's going to be able to address that in a rally. I think he's going to talk about building the wall. I think he's going to talk about our strong economic numbers, 220+ thousand new jobs today, 2.2 million new jobs since his election 1 year ago, the economic boom that we've seen through the sheer force of his will and his deregulatory pen. And I think he's going to spread that good news tonight in Pensacola.
So part of it, Corey, has got to be about the Senate race, just given the proximity to the venue. He has endorsed, in effect, Judge Roy Moore for that office. Is he certain that if elected to the Senate, Moore will support his agenda? Moore was opposed to Donald Trump during the primary, as you remember, but he's on board now. Are we certain of that?
Tucker, it's a clear difference between the two candidates running for the Senate in Alabama. One is a big spending liberal who's anti-immigration, stopping illegal immigration, who is going to side with Chuck Schumer, and the other one in Roy Moore is going to support the president's agenda of moving America forward. So it's a very clear choice. This isn't a choice between two pretty good conservatives. One is a big spending liberal, and one is going to support the president's agenda, and that's why he's down there supporting Roy Moore tonight.
Dave Bossie, you kind of wonder, so the National Democratic Party has basically made it impossible for any Democrat running statewide to come out as a pro-life candidate. They basically said, we're not accepting you. But you got to wonder, in this specific race, if Jones, the Democrat, had come out as a pro-life candidate, I mean, it might have made all the difference for the Democrats. I wonder if they're going to rethink that policy in the wake of this race.
Obviously, I wish they would. I wish they would see, how important the position of life is to all Americans. But they're just a party that's adrift, and they have a stamp. If you don't have the pro-abortion stamp on your passport, you just can't run for statewide office in any state and have the Democrat Party's support.
I think they could win this race with a pro-life Democrat.
But Jones has been a pro-choice Democrat, a liberal for his entire career. So this is they're not able to just pull that card out for this race.
So Corey, why didn't the president endorse Moore in the first place?
Well, look, I think what the president went down to do is he went down and he supported Luther Strange, who was in the race, someone who he has worked with to get his agenda done through the U.S. Senate. He got to know Big Luther, and he went down and supported him. But as soon as that race was decided by the people of Alabama, Donald Trump got on board and is now supporting Roy Moore because the choice is very clear. You can go and have an Al Franken, Chuck Schumer liberal in Washington, D.C. from Alabama, or you can vote for a conservative in Roy Moore.
Just for our viewers, that was Congressman Gates on the stage. I think we're watching Congressman DeSantis of Florida mount the podium. We're awaiting the president who ought to be there soon, and we're going to go to that. Dave, in the answer to your first question, you suggested the president was going to talk about the border wall, a central promise of his campaign. More than a year since the campaign ended, no sign of the border wall. What's the timeline on that?
Well, he is trying to stick to the promises he made during the campaign, and he's trying to work with the Congress and the Senate to get that done. But you could see, Tucker, and as all Americans do, that the Republican leadership needs to get on board with that wall because they control the purse strings, they control the legislative agenda, and we must have a wall. And I think after this Kate Steinle verdict of last week, it is going to be the impetus to get this done. And I'm hopeful that the wall, building the wall, the funding of the wall is going to be something that will be in our budget for next year, 2018.
So and that is kind of the question, Corey. So there are members of the Republican leadership who are ideologically opposed to a wall, and their donors are opposed to it. The president doesn't mind picking fights with members of his own party, obviously. Why not pick one on this and say, here are the 3 people preventing the wall I promised from being built, and call them out by name?
Well, the good news today was that we have a new Homeland Security Secretary. Kirstjen Nielsen was sworn in today officially, which is great. So we have new leadership at the Department of Homeland Security. We look at the immigration numbers. What General Kelly did before he became the chief has really dramatically slowed that illegal immigration on the southern border. But we're going to build the wall, Tucker. I'm certain of it. The prototypes are out. They're being built right now in the desert. So the funding has to get there. And look, I agree with you. If Congress stops this from being done, the president has to find a way to get this done. It is a promise he made in the campaign. It's a promise he's going to keep to the American people.
So, I mean, that's an absolute. So would it be fair, just to follow up on that, to say, look, this is something you promised explicitly and repeatedly. It's fair to judge you on whether you get it done?
Well, look, I absolutely think so. And we ran the campaign, as you know, we talk about in the book, the great book, Tucker, Let Trump Be Trump, the immigration issue, how important it was on the campaign trail talking about illegal immigration. He talked about it so many times. Mexico's going to pay for the wall. It was a hallmark of the campaign. And what that means is you have to follow through on those promises like he is doing on tax reform, like he will do on health care reform, like he will do on transportation infrastructure. But you got to get the wall built.
Dave Bossie, when you say let Trump be Trump, what does that mean?
Well, what we talk about, and this is really Corey's catchphrase that he created during the primary campaigns, and it was one of the reasons that in the book you can find out all the back story of this campaign. But I introduced Corey to the president back in 2014, and it was one of the reasons that I recommended him to be the campaign manager was because he was going to help Donald Trump be true to himself and let Trump be Trump, is that professionals weren't going to come in and manage him and try to make him something that he's not, that he is a conservative populist and that he is going to be true to those ideals. And that's what the book is about, and that's what President Trump's presidency is about.
So, Corey, how does moving the embassy from one city to another in a foreign country address kind of the basic questions of this campaign? Is that an example of conservative populism?
Well, it is, Tucker. You remember, he talked about this on the campaign trail, and you know, I looked and have listened to other people who've been on the network saying 13 presidents prior to him have promised to move the embassy. In his first year in office, he made a promise, and he's now delivering on it because he's not a career politician. You go back and you look at the promises he made on the campaign trail, and he's now fulfilling those as the president. And what's amazing is the mainstream media can't believe it. They say, hey, look, he promised to do something. He's doing it because he's never been a politician. He's a businessman. And moving that embassy is a huge step. It is a generational step for the people of Israel.
What about for the people of America?
Well, look, it's very important. Israel is a very important ally of ours. They are our closest. We are helping them. They are helping us. They have an amazing wall built around their city, right? And what we can do is we can work with our partners. And the people of America, you know what they want? They want safety and security. And we have a lot of Jewish Americans here who have a lot of family back home. And this is something that community has longed for a long, long time.
Gentlemen, thank you both very much, and congrats on the book. Please stay with us if you would. Of course, President Trump's speech is set to start any minute, and we'll take you right to it when it does. Just across the border from where this event is taking place tonight in Pensacola, Alabama Democrat Doug Jones facing backlash because his campaign apparently distributed flyers that show an image of an incredulous black man, and they say this, quote, "Think if a black man went after high school girls, anyone would try to make him a senator." The Blaze's Lawrence Jones says that stunts like this are exactly why he left the Democratic Party, and he joins us tonight. Lawrence Jones, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Tucker.
So what do you dislike about this ad?
Well, it's just factually incorrect, A, and they're using black people as a tool, as they consistently do in every election.
Right.
But when it comes down to actually advocating for issues that affect our community once they get elected, they're not concerned about that. And I think that's why you're seeing publications from The Root who are very progressive that are against this, because they're using black people. And quite frankly, people are sick of this. People are sick of, especially in my community, been used as tools during political elections.
So the piece in the Root, and it's a very left-wing site, as you note, I thought made a pretty smart point. This is patronizing.
Yeah.
Because the message it is sending is black voters in Alabama would be voting for this guy if it weren't for this.
Just based on this issue alone.
Right.
And it quite frankly, Tucker, in my opinion, it insults the intelligence of black voters. Number one, I want to push back on something. If their theory is correct, wouldn't black folks want due process? I mean, wouldn't they want to go through the legal process to make sure that if they were wrongly accused, if they're going to be treated differently? So the whole point that they're making is counterproductive to the argument that they lay in this ad. And I think that's why a lot of black folks are offended.
Well, it is patronizing as hell, but you say it's no different from what we see every election cycle?
Every single election, they find some type of race-baiting tactic. And right now, I'm not saying black folks are going to vote for the Republican Party.
Right.
I left and became a conservative, but they will stay home. And as you saw in the past election, that when black voters stay home, it's not a good picture for the Democratic Party.
No, it's terrible for them. But I wonder why there are never any affirmative promises, like we're going to do this for you and for all Americans. Instead, it's almost always the other guy hates you.
Right. And I talked about this earlier today on Fox. And when you look at the unemployment numbers, double the national average under President Obama, under President Trump, it's at a 20-year low right now. They don't want to talk about those type of issues. They prefer to say, hey, that guy is racist. But when it comes down to rolling up their sleeves, going in the community and actually building businesses, fighting for issues like school choice, they're nowhere to be found.
So you're saying that black voters are like any kind of voter, economic issues are the primary issues.
Except for the black vote is loyal to the Democratic Party. And I think it's not an unfair thing to ask the Democratic Party to be loyal to them back. We see every election from 80 to 90% of the black vote. It's a block that is dedicated to the Democratic Party. And that's why black folks are so furious with ads like this.
Well, I think it's any group. It's not even race-specific. If you think people hate you, you're not even going to consider voting for them. We're going to go to the President of the United States, who is mounting the stage there in Pensacola, Florida.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And if you think this crowd is big, you should see right now what's outside. Congratulations. Hello, Pensacola. What a place. Right here on the Emerald Coast, right? The Emerald Coast. In the great state of Florida, where we had a tremendous victory, didn't we? Come on. We are joined by many, many people in the military and great American patriots. Thank you very much. Well, you remember the campaign. I said, let me begin by wishing each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas, right? And I can think of no better Christmas present for the American people than giving you a massive tax cut. That's what's happening. And your Senate and your House, hopefully, very shortly, will have those approvals. Those hands will go up, and you're going to be paying a lot less tax. So congratulations. I hope. They got to vote, and I think they will. I can't wait to sign that tax cut. Great for so many, but great for the middle class. We're going to put it into law. We're going to cap off an incredible first year in office. There's been no first year like this, or at least just about no. I think the answer is no, but I have to be very accurate because of the fake news back then. In our campaign for the presidency, we defied the pundits, the politicians, and the special interests because ours was a movement of the people, and it really was. It was a movement of you. It was a movement of the people. It was a movement to make America great again. And it's happening. That's happening. And by the way, how are your 401ks doing? Not too bad, right? Over the weekend, I was in New York City, and I love to say hello to our folks in uniform, whether it's the military, whether it's law enforcement. And we had people backstage, and I always want to take my time. And a man comes up. He was a police officer in New York City. First time anyone said this to me, he said, "Mr. President, I want to thank you. My family thinks I'm a financial genius. My 401k is up 39% in 9 months." I think it's going to be very hard for somebody to beat us in a few years. Can you imagine? Now we're only talking about a few years. All you have to say is, with us it goes up, with them it goes down, and that's the end of the election, right? Everyone's doing well, and it's going to be a lot better. We're going to do better and better. We are going to make our country great again, and we are looking at our country now as America first. America first. So tonight we're going to speak straight to the American people and cut right through the fake news media. Right through. We're going to speak the plain truth and really the truth that you just want to hear. You have to hear. They don't want to hear. But And by the way, did you see all the corrections the media's been making? They're saying, sorry, we made a... They've been doing that all year. They never apologized. Maybe that comes with being the president. I don't know. They've been apologizing left and right. They took this fraudster from ABC. They suspended him for a month. They should have fired him for what he wrote. He drove the stock market down 350 points in minutes, which, by the way, tells you they really like me, right? When you think of it. And you know what he cost people? And I said to everybody, get yourself a lawyer and sue ABC News. Sue them. So, and then CNN apologized just a little while ago. They apologized. Oh, thank you, CNN. Thank you so much. You should have been apologizing for the last 2 years. True. What a group. What a group. But since the election, and they're not going to argue with this, we've created 2.2 million new jobs. Factories are coming back to our country. You know, we have factories pouring back into our country. You ever think you'd hear that? I used to tell you that's going to happen. See, now there's consequences when companies close up their factories, move to another country, make a product and sell it right through. They have consequences now. And by the way, those consequences are getting very steep, and they're going up. There's no more of that stuff. There's no more. In November alone, you saw this today, we added 228,000 jobs. I watched these anchors this morning. They were devastated. Did you say, oh, what's going on? And honestly, we have a long way to go. We're going to do much better than this, and I've been saying it, including another 33,000 new jobs in manufacturing. Where do you hear that, right? Hispanic unemployment is the lowest ever recorded. Any Hispanics here? Any Hispanic? Any Hispanics? You guys were great. Remember, they weren't going to vote for me because I'm going to build the wall, but they want the wall too. They want security. Oh, we're going to have the wall, don't worry. No, they want security. How about the Cuban population in Miami? Well, we have Cubans here tonight. Good. Was the number 86% in favor of Trump? A tremendous percentage. Total unemployment is now at a 17-year low. Think of that. Not bad. Not bad after 10 months. It's only going to get better. Listen to this one. This is, to me, maybe one of the most important because it's all psychological to a large extent, and that's what creates greatness. Consumer confidence is at a 17-year high. Think of that. It was not like that in your last administration. Economic growth last quarter surged to 3.3%. You know it. You know where it was, right? When we started, you know where it was? Dingo. 3.3%, and it's going a lot higher. You know, I used to hear you'll never hit 3, you'll never hit 2.5. You figure maybe 2.3, 2.4. If we didn't have the hurricanes last quarter, we would have hit 4%, and everybody back there would have said that's impossible. We had a couple of hurricanes. You heard about it, right? You heard about it? The stock market is hitting an all-time high record for another, and think of this, 86 times since Election Day. 86 times. It hit a record. 86 times. And we're going to keep it going. And then you look at all of the money you folks are making. Oh, I wish I could take 10 or 15%, but I think you're not going to do that. Right? You're not going to do that? But it's getting better and better. Your pensions are getting bigger and bigger. Your pension funds, all of those things are happening. And wait till you see what we're doing. Tax cuts, but wait till you see what we're doing with health care. Wait till you see. You're going to be happy. Not the Obamacare nightmare. Not Obamacare nightmare. It's not that nightmare where your premiums are a disaster, right? They're a disaster. No, we have it going. You watch. We have some very good things happening with respect to health care, and the taxes are a part of it, and you'll see what happens right after taxes. You're going to see what happens, because with taxes, something great is going to get announced. We're getting rid of the individual mandate. That individual mandate, where you pay a lot of money for the privilege of not having to have insurance or health care. So you pay for the privilege of not getting taken care of. Isn't that a wonderful thing? And we're going to repeal it. Since the election, we've created more than $5 trillion in new economic wealth just in the stock market alone. We're not including real estate and other values. $5 trillion. And we are finally rebuilding our country, defending our citizens, and fighting for our great American workers. We're putting America first by renegotiating trade deals. We're renegotiating NAFTA. We're renegotiating our horrendous deal with South Korea. I kept you out of the TPP, which would have been a total disaster for you and for everybody else. And we're making individual deals with these countries. You know, when you get tied into 12 countries or 22 countries or 18 countries, you're stuck. It's a spider web. It's like this. If you have 16 good ones and 2 bad ones, as an example. You can't do it. You can't get out. When you have a deal one-on-one, nice, simple deal. We have a deal with Japan, or we have a deal with South Korea, or we have a deal with whoever it may be. If they don't treat us right, we send them what's called a letter of termination. Okay? These people always say, oh, they're saying, oh, TPP. Yeah, we're all these countries tied in. You can't terminate. You're tied into all the good ones. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So you can't do what you have to do. So you send out a letter of termination. You give them a 60-day notice or a 30-day notice or even a 6-month notice. They then come back because we're the big piggy bank that everybody likes robbing. The whole world robs it. So they then come back and they say, can we negotiate? And we make a better deal than we had in the first place, right? But you can't do that when you have many countries tied in. You can't, I call it a spider's web. There's a lot of Washington lobbyists, bureaucrats, politicians who don't want to see things change. They're made a fortune. Areas around Washington, D.C. are the richest areas in this country. You saw it the other night. A list came out. We have 5 areas that are among the richest areas in the country. That's because everybody is making a fortune, and people outside of that area are paying for the money they're making. We're not going to have it. They like things the way they used to be. They don't like it so much now, although I must tell you, they're doing well also. They're doing well also. Their stocks are going up. I don't know if there's anything I can do to prevent it for those people. But they call themselves the resistance. You ever see these signs? Resist, resist. I love these guys. Look at these guys. Blacks for Trump. I love you. I love you. I love you. By the way, now that you bring it up, black home ownership just hit the highest level it's ever been in the history of our country. Congratulations. Oh, these resistors resist. Hillary resisted, and you know what happened? She lost the election in a landslide. But you know what they're really resisting? They're resisting the will of the American people. That's what they're resisting. Look, it's being proven we have a rigged system. Doesn't happen so easy. But this system, going to be a lot of changes. This is a rigged system. This is a sick system from the inside. And, you know, there's no country like our country, but we have a lot of sickness in some of our institutions. And we're working very hard. We've got a lot of them straightened out, but we really do. We have a rigged system in this country, and we have to change it. Terrible. Terrible. They're resisting progress. They're resisting change because the only thing they really care about is protecting what they've been able to do, which is really control the country and not to your benefit. By the way, wages starting to go up. First time in 20 years, starting to go up. That's all going to happen. That's all going to happen. That's all going to happen. That's just a part of what's going on. But I'm going to do something better than that. We're going to have choice. Now, we have choice in education now. We're starting that, right? And I thought of it the other day. We're going to have choice in jobs so that you don't have one job and hang on even though you don't like it. You're going to have choice where you can take 5 jobs, 6 jobs, 7 jobs, pick the one you like at the most money. That's what's starting to happen because the jobs are coming in. That's what's starting to happen. Thanks to General Mattis and the military leaders and the allies. Mad Dog matter. Mad Dog matter. Thanks to Mad Dog Matter, so we have great military leaders. ISIS is being dealt one brutal defeat after another. You see it. Not only are we defeating these killers, these savage killers, horrible, horrible, you don't even want to say people. These are savage killers over there, but we sure as hell don't want them to come over here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, they come back to some countries and they come in. We're making it a very difficult process. We had such weakness. They go out, kill people, then they come back and they go back home to mom and dad. Okay, before they went nutso and start over here. We're making it very difficult. You see what's being happened. We're watching every single one. We have thousands of people right now under surveillance. Slow surveillance, that sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. Remember when I suggested something like that? Everyone said, Trump? Why is he said? Well, it turned out I was right about that one, wasn't I? America is being respected again abroad, and we are taking care of our citizens at home, and we're going to have safety, and we've got a lot more now. We're getting rid of the MS-13 animals. We're going to have safety again. Because America is more than just a place on a map. America is a nation. America is a family. America is ours to love and to cherish and to protect and to take care of, and that's what we're doing. We're going to take care of this country for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, and we're not going to let people come into our country who are going to destroy our country. And that may or may not be politically correct, but honestly, I don't care. We have to do the right thing. We have to do the right thing. Our agenda is pro-family, pro-police, pro-worker, and 100% pro-American. That's what our agenda is. That's why I recently withdrew the United States from the United Nations plan for global governance of immigration and refugee policy. No borders. It's a no borders plan. They have a plan, no borders. I heard about it recently. I said, what are you talking about, no borders? No borders. No borders. Everybody can come in. If you don't mind, I've rejected that plan. Is that okay? Okay. I told them, not only do we want no borders, we want the strongest borders you've ever seen. We're going to have such borders. We'll have borders on top of borders. America's a sovereign country. We set our immigration rules. We don't listen to foreign bureaucrats. We don't listen to other countries telling us how we should be running our immigration. Thank you very much. We're also getting smart and tough on trade. I've been talking about this for a long time. It's one of the reasons I'm here. One of the reasons I'm president. We are renegotiating the disastrous trade agreements of NAFTA, of South Korea, of so many others. We are making great deals. We're going to hopefully keep NAFTA, but there's a chance we won't. And that's okay. That's okay. How many factories have left for Mexico? How many factories? So we right now have a trade deficit with Mexico of $71 billion, and that doesn't include all the drugs that pour in over the border because we don't have a wall, etc. Okay? $71 billion. $71 billion. So we have, think of it, we have a trade deficit with Mexico of $71 billion. We have a pretty good trade deficit with Canada. They were saying we have a surplus with Canada. I said, no, and I like the Prime Minister very much, Prime Minister Trudeau. Nice guy, good guy. No, I like him. But we had a meeting. He said, no, you have a trade surplus. I said, no, we don't. He said, no, you have a trade surplus. I said, Mr. Prime Minister, we do not. He said, how do you know? I said, because we don't have a surplus with anybody. We have the worst deals. He said, I'm telling you that Canada has a deficit with the United States. I told my people, in front of a lot of people, I said, go out and check. And he was right. Except he forgot two categories: lumber, timber, and energy. Other than that, he was right. When you add them all together, we actually have a $17 billion deficit with Canada, right? So he forgot a couple of categories that he didn't want to mention. I heard it with other countries, too. Just got back from Asia. I brought back $300 billion worth of deals. And that number is going to go a lot higher. And these are numbers that are going to produce a lot of jobs in our country, and that's what we have to be doing. We are going to end the theft of American intellectual property, crack down on China's trade abuses, and confront countries that cheat, of which many of them are in that category, sadly. We will buy back our country. We will take back our country. We will make those great trade deals, and we will have unbelievable amounts of jobs created and factories created. And we will do what other countries do. We will start buying American. We want to buy our product. And we will start hiring American. And we will stay American and be proud of it. And that's what's happening more and more. That's why I see all those red hats and those white hats. Love those hats. That is why one of my very first acts as president was to withdraw the United States from the job-killing Trans-Pacific Partnership. Had to do it. We've also canceled the one job-killing regulation that you see after another, one after another, beating the mark of any previous president. Now, there was a great article in the Wall Street Journal the other day, full page, that in the history of our country, nobody even close, and these are longer terms than 10 months, that in 10 months I've done more on knocking out regulations than any other president in our history. You know who was right up there? Honest Abe Lincoln. Can you believe it? He was a regulation cutter. Can you believe it? Abe Lincoln was a regulation cutter. Who would have known that? I said, you mean I beat Abraham Lincoln? That's pretty good for 10 months. I don't know if regulation sounds so glamorous, but I can tell you it's very important. But we have a lot of others. We have statutory requirements where you have to give a 90-day notice, then another 90-day notice, then you have a cooling off period, then you have to give a 30-day notice before. They're all in the works. And you're going to see a lot more cutting of regulation. But we've done more than any other president, and it's not even close. And we haven't even started. And as promised, and I used to come out here, I've been here 3 times. I love it. I just keep coming back. I just keep coming back. Oh, boy, oh, boy. I'll tell you, when we were doing well during that beautiful election night, when we were doing well all over Florida, I said, was the Pensacola area included yet? And they said, no. I said, guess what? We just won that election. Right. And as promised, remember, I announced that I would withdraw America, the United States, from the horrible, for us, good for other countries, it's great for other countries, from the horrible Paris Climate Accord. Costs us a fortune. So China doesn't start till around 2030, I think. Russia doesn't have to go back to like a recent date. They go back to somewhere in the 1990s, which was a high pollution time. Other countries we end up giving money to, this would have been one of the great catastrophes. And I could come back into the deal at a much better price. They'd love me back in. I could come back into the Paris Accord, and I like the people. I really like Emmanuel. I like so many of the people involved. But I could come back. It's like, I don't get it. I don't see it. I want clean air. I want crystal clear and clean water. I want things that they won't have. And I don't want to pay the kind of numbers that you're talking about. If we stayed with those numbers, we would have had to close factories and businesses in order to qualify by 2025. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, we're violating the accord. In the meantime, some of those countries are spewing stuff out that you wouldn't believe. And we would be closing up. Now, we could maybe change the deal. But then we'd get sued by all the groups that sue. You know, in China, they don't sue China. Nobody sues. With us, they sue. I approved, immediately after we took office, the Keystone XL and Dakota Access Pipeline. Right? 48,000 jobs. We've lifted the restrictions on American energy, including shale, oil, natural gas, and clean, beautiful coal, of which we have 1,000 years of supply. And we're putting miners back to work. Did you see West Virginia? I love West Virginia. West Virginia. I love West Virginia. So West Virginia, people were saying, oh, trouble. Coal will never come back. In the meantime, they're buying it in Vietnam from us. The president of Vietnam said that is the finest coal we've ever purchased. They're buying it from us. So West Virginia, the numbers just out. Great governor of West Virginia. Numbers just come out. West Virginia had the biggest percentage increase in GDP of any state in our union except for Texas. It was second. How's that? How's that? And they said, oh, coal will never come back. Now we're